allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're looking to closed session tonight to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, and performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility under Wisconsin statutes 19.85 paren 1 paren C, to consider compensation in 23-24, basketball coaches, high school assistant, volunteer track coach, high school English teacher and reading intervention teacher, high school special education at-risk teacher, K-12 general music and chorus teacher, and the food services director. So with that, I will turn the meeting over to Mr. Limpke for reorganization.
Okay, election of officers. Take a nomination for board president.
Nominate Lisa Berry. Second.
Second. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Nominations are closed. All in favor of Lisa Berry for president, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Then we'll take the nomination for vice president.
Nominate Keith Volkman as vice president.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any others? There are none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we'll take a motion for the clerk. I nominate Jeff Isaacson.
Second.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Assistant clerk.
Nominate Dick Wyden as the assistant clerk. Second.
Any other nominations? Are there any others? Any other nominations? Hearing none. Closed. Nominations are closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Treasurer.
I nominate Dave Kaplan.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none, the nominations are closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion is carried. We do not have a presentation tonight. We do not have guest comments. Does anyone have anything they wish to have removed?
Committee assignments.
Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry. So Susan today has served as the board representative and annual delegate, convention delegate for CC7. Sue, do you wish to continue that?
Yes.
Then we will assign Sue that position. And the Wisconsin Association of School Board Convention Delegate, that's where we get all those motions. Do you wish to continue that?
Yes.
So we will assign Sue to that, and then we would look for an alternate. Does anyone want to commit to that at this time?
I think Dick was
Pardon?
the alternate.
I think
Yes.
Okay, good. Oh, there's, I read the closed session out of order, I'm sorry. No, I didn't, never mind. I'm not following very well here. Okay, so the consent agenda.
But committees. The committee and assignments, we have these committees here.
Oh,
And you can either leave them as they are, or you just
Yeah.
structure you want to do.
sorry.
Whatever.
So,
Whichever one.
we have those kind of standing committees. Does anyone want to be added to a committee or withdraw from a committee? We see, are there any other committees that we see need for?
I would be willing to also serve on the Compensation Benefits Committee. Or you're listed on there. I don't know how active that committee is.
Pretty much the union just shows up and asks for the CPI, but, yeah, we put.
But I think we've been doing that as a board of health, because you've been there when the union comes, haven't you?
Yeah, I have.
The negotiations.
I realize that.
I don't think we've had a specific compensation and benefits committee, but you will know later on in the meeting, we may have that in the fall.
Yeah, it's still this week.
We may have that, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So if we add that committee, we'll add your name to it.
All right. You're listed on right now.
So let's do two.
So we haven't met, I know we haven't done anything, but that may,
That may change in fall.
we'll talk about it when we get to that.
Very good.
Okay, then we'll leave those as they are. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda. No, does anyone have anything they wish to have removed from the consent agenda? And if there is nothing, then that is approved by consent. And there was an anonymous donation of $1,000 for pupil services. The MNG Foundation of $2,000 for Destination Imagination. The Lutzy Family Foundation donated $1,000 for the football program. It's my understanding football players went to the farm, to Waseda Farm, and did some work for them.
Went to 2 different days.
And then, I don't know how you want to, there was a lot of fundraising for Destination Imagination and a lot of money raised. Do you just want to
We
generally
thought this was
thank,
easier. Yes, it was fantastic.
generally thank everyone out there that that donated anything?
I don't think I could list them all, there's so much out there, there's restaurants.
There's
Yeah, that's the door.
that board over there is the donor wall.
Wow.
That's great.
And the day they had here was fantastic.
We'll move to administrative reports and Mr. Hills.
Thank you very much. Not a lot to report this month, other than, we're near the end of the school year. It's been a very good school year. Did want to mention that we plan on doing the summer bridge workbooks that we've done in the past. We've placed that order and we should get those by the end of the month. Good luck to the Destination Imagination teams coming up. And then to end the school year, we're going to do a challenge week. We've got a field day planned, but what we'll do is we'll divide the entire elementary into 3 teams. And then on that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there will be in-class activities that they will do to earn some points. So it's not just all focused on athletic prowess. And then on Friday, we will have some field day events, more fun things than anything else. But that way, all the kids will feel that they get a chance to participate and add to their team's totals. And that'll be our big event for that last week.
Good. Ms. Marquardt?
Thank you. The last board meeting, I reported that People Services wanted to look at different grant resources within the community, and I was really happy to report that we were successful, that we were awarded an adaptive swing for the new playground. I just wanted to mention that to say thank you very much, and we're going to continue to look for adaptive swing for the playground.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. And then the other piece is that summer programming is in final stages. So all summer parent-guardian confirmations were mailed this week. So there's been a lot of effort that's gone into successful organization of summer, and we're in the final stages and looking forward to it.
Mr. Schaefer?
Thank you. I was going to also acknowledge our Destination Imagination. I couldn't quite hear you, but they did raise $11,070 at the Destination Imagination when they put on the presentation. Over 70 businesses were a part of that. It was an incredible turnout. I think for my first time, I was coming in about 20 minutes before the start because it's like there'll be plenty of space, but I could not believe the turnout from the community. It was an incredible
This
an
is-
incredible event, one that I hope that becomes a tradition here because it was
I think
awesome.
this was the first time they did that. I don't recall that ever other.
It was the first time, and they're talking about adding it part of Fine Arts Night maybe, something like that.
I definitely think it's something we should keep going. Just touching base too with Literacy Night. We had Literacy Night here, that was also a success. We had a lot of people here. They're looking at moving that back next year to having it between when winter sports end and before spring sports begin, so we can tailor it to more families to attend. Of course, our ACT results were excellent with our average score, which you can see that's posted in there, which is above the national average, above the state average, and having 6 of our students score above a 30 is very, very awesome, very impressive. National Honor Society, I wanted to talk about that as well, our awards night, our awards banquet that we had. I know I'm doing a lot more than one, but it was just an incredible showing. We had over 82 students that were recognized for having a GPA of 3.8 or above. It's very impressive and a great testament also, and a thank you to all of our teachers who have worked with the ACT boot camp to help our students be prepared for such a rigorous test, and as well as our teachers helping our students be academically successful in all areas. Much to be proud of, much to be thankful for.
Thank you.
At some point, maybe we could dig a little deeper into those ACT scores
I don't know what you mean by that, Sue.
to take a look at where there may be some concerns or subject by subject and really analyze the data.
Sue, can I mention that that's what the ACT committee, they definitely do that. So I know that there is probably 6 or 7 teachers that are on that committee. It's a committee that they find very, very valuable, so they do dig in and find out where, how they can improve their boot camp and how they can improve instruction, to prepare them. So everyone can always dig deeper.
Right.
Currently, that is something that I know that people on the committee get really excited to
Maybe if
get
you could
those
get some
results.
feedback on that,
Sure.
would be great.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions they want to direct on the athletic directors and the executive report? There are no moving to the superintendent.
Your packet is a list of items that, as an administrative team, we're going to look at during summertime and improve for next year.
That's it?
It's an ongoing list that we discussed again today, and we keep kicking it around with people. Yeah.
I don't have anything. The property buildings and grounds?
Met had a few issues we covered. One was the sound system in the gym we addressed several times. Jeff came up with some people that we can contact that have expertise in auditorium sound systems, gymnasium sound systems. I think one of the problems out there is that those speakers in there are quite aged. I think they've been in there since who knows when. So that's part of the problem too. And the PA system. I mean, when we overhauled the system in the elementary gym, although that it's a smaller space, the sound improved quite a bit. I mean, we did that for plays and presentations. So I think we really haven't done anything. I don't think we've done anything in the high school before.
The high school gym's got 2 issues. One's the sound system, the other one's the acoustics of bouncing off the walls. The company that Jeff recommended, 2 or 3 companies. We had 3 come in last week, and each one's working on proposals, but it's really a 2-part process. It's the acoustics of bouncing off the walls, the sound, and the sound system. And we're going to get the acoustic surroundings fixed first, because there's no sense putting a different sound system in until you know what your environment is. So, but none of the 3 companies have given us quotes yet, but they're working on them. So we had 3 come in last week.
That's in progress. The sign, the digital electronic sign out front, we've gotten the estimates for it. It's just a matter of trying to figure out a placement. power to it. We had a couple options on, powering it up, then it'll be accessible by cell phone. So it can be programmed. I think you're familiar with that kind of system, right? Yeah. So
It's also going to be perpendicular to the highway, so you can see it both ways, just like the town hall sign.
yeah.
And Trina's working with the company who work on getting permits from the county and everything else, so.
Yeah. So I think we've got a good design on that. And my man and I are going to work on rejuvenating the trail through the woods. So that we should have that done this summer. All the exercise stations are still in place there, just there's no access to them. So we'll get that underway. I don't know, anything else, Jeff?
District office is being renovated. Who is it, Carl? What's the official name of the next company?
Peninsula Create.
Yeah, Peninsula
Creation, that's it, that Nick Schultz's company, yes. So that's happening. And then today I got a call from Myron about our greenhouse. Again, this is not good news. It was $82,000 to fix it, to get it correct. $50,000 is going to be picked up between Myron, Bray, and United Greenhouse, and we're on the hook for 32. However, the state now says it has to be annealed glass, ANNEALED glass. Annealed glass? Yes. Which adds another $43,000 on the cost. So
So they gotta replace all the window,
the top ones, the ones above.
Is it all of it, or just a certain percentage?
All of them, they said. They went back and forth with the state multiple times. I told Myron that I would call him back tomorrow because we had this meeting here tonight, and I ended up our building grounds wanted to get together, hear the story from Myron straight, because I told him, I said, this all should have been taken care of before we built it.
Annealed glass,
that's
like,
Annealed glass.
that's like shatterproof,
Yes, it's shatterproof.
Yeah, it's coating on it.
There was a laminated glass, but that laminated glass gets too thick and too heavy to put up there, so they had to go with this kind of glass.
Yeah.
I guess we're between a rock and a hard place. If we want to continue to use it, effectively, it has to be to code. But it puzzles me why we should have to pay anything because we hired someone professionals to put together.
I thought that the designer should have gotten approval from the state of the bill, and the little guy, Myron, should, and they said, well, that's our part for $50,000. I said, but we're getting stuck with $75,000. Myron said if they push too hard on United Greenhouse, they'll walk away. And then, they reached out to other greenhouse companies, and no one else will touch a project like this at this point. Yeah, so. And the time frame is important because if we're going to go ahead like tomorrow, the goal would be have it done in September, but it could spill into September, which means October these days, so I don't know.
All the glass, all the roof glass.
All the roof glass and the 3 sections would be that annealed glass, yeah. Which I didn't know annealed glass was
I've
the
never heard of that. I mean, it seems to be like a coating as they go.
But he just means this problem, I've heard this problem.
I never know. I mean, all I've never worked in a greenhouse at a public. Well, yeah, I have. We've I never came across it. I don't.
Good luck with that.
So, I guess I think we gotta fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm kinda half tempted to make them come up here and brief us and tell us their thoughts. I mean, they need,
Right,
I
I can work on
not that
that.
it's gonna change it, but I think they need to brief us how they shit the bed on us.
I know, I was going off on the phone with him.
Bobby, so I'm
He said,
almost kinda
we've already done this.
I think you give the go-ahead tomorrow to get ordering stuff.
Right. Okay.
But I don't know what other recourse we have.
I think nothing, building's up. We've been using it for almost 2 years now.
Or we could get, what was that? Eyewitness News 2 on your side. Let's get them up here. So other schools, these guys shouldn't, other schools should learn from this. How do we get that out?
Yes, because I
Get to the
talked,
school
when I
board
talked to Rick
convention.
Bergen from Myron, he said he's working on another school right now, and they're using ours as an example to make sure they don't have this problem. He said they've done hundreds of them, and we're the first one to get flagged by the state like this. I said, well, every time you do one for another school, they should give us some kickback to save them money, right? But, I don't know.
Well, what's the difference between the other 100? I mean, that's a briefing that they should brief us.
I-
You do hundreds of them, all right? Well, tell me by design
Why
exactly
do
what's
theirs get
different.
approved and ours don't, I don't know.
But I do think we need to give them the go-ahead tomorrow so it's ready for September.
Right,
That's a necessary bill we have to pay, but
right.
doesn't take away the anger or the poor management that they get.
Right.
And then plus
Money
they're-
to hold their feet to
Right,
the
I mean,
fire.
they're picking up some of the costs, but I guess, I mean, if it would have been designed correctly in the first place, we probably would have still had those extra 30,000 costs, just for material.
Right, they said we would have the material costs regardless. I said, yeah, but if we would have known about that when we were building, we would have.
Right, we could allocate.
We would have held some more contingency and maybe not spend it someplace else where we had funds available at that time. Right.
That's the right.
Anything else on facilities?
No, that's it.
Around Liberty grounds? We had a meet and confer on May 3rd. Jerry and I were there, and there was a good group of teachers there. I'd say there were maybe 15 people there. Some of these things I'm just going to kind of touch on here. We're not going to discuss them. There'll be summer topics, and then there's a couple we're going to discuss tonight. One was a question, could they be compensated for personal days? You know, if they don't use the personal day they lose it. Is there a value to them being in the classroom and us not having to pay a sub? So that's something Mr. Wilkie will have to look into is regarding financial consideration and bring back to us at some time. There was a question about accumulating more than 120 sick days for some of those people that are at the top of the scale. And we recalled that having come up like a year ago, and there was some legal reason that you couldn't do that.
Very, very big said you want to cap it because it's liability laying out there. You don't want that. But the teacher's concern is, I'm in my last year of teaching, and I use a bunch of my sick days, and then I don't have enough for the incentive of insurance when I was retirement. That was the incentive to keep your sick days, was to get that, so they want it both ways there, right? And, well, it's over time, they've had it for so long that it's kind of become expected to get that when you retire.
So are you just going to report back to the staff on that?
I get that's
Or
what
how,
I'm sure.
or do you want us to?
Oh, it's going to the next meeting confirm.
Okay, we'll talk about the next meeting.
That's fine.
We talked about fundraising last month, that came up at the meeting confer, we'll discuss that later. They brought forward a discussion on the math interventionist, which we'll discuss later in this meeting. They asked if more detailed information could be available to them before the meetings. So the suggestion was maybe this packet that the school board gets goes online where people can access it
Before school board meetings, before meetings?
before school board meetings. Before,
This packet here will be online before the school board meeting, so they can follow along.
Public information.
Yeah.
so I don't know if we need
Discuss
to have that on the agenda sometime as a motion, or we can just make that a practice.
So they don't, the staff, I mean, I didn't check the mailing list, but did the staff get the agenda along with the board members?
The agenda is posted in the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it has to be posted, so.
You're talking about that.
They want the whole packet.
I know, but the packet itself, yeah.
The one topic on that was, a person had a memo from the Gibraltar superintendent to the school board, and it talked about compensation and what he was recommending. I'm sure that wasn't available before the meeting. That went to the board in closed session. They discussed it, probably approved it, and then it became public record. So they wouldn't be getting back anything that is going to come in closed session. It would just be this.
Or were they talking about the minutes of the, for some reason I was thinking at one point they were talking about getting a
I think-
recap of what happened at the school board
Now,
meeting.
that was 2 meeting confers ago.
I've been doing a
And Lisa's been
recap.
sending them on, like tomorrow or Friday, she'll send an update from this meeting to them. Now they want the packet before the meeting.
doesn't really.
I'm not sure that's required, I mean,
That's not required.
yeah, I mean, I,
But it is public information, so
Right.
why hide it?
It's not hiding, it's
No.
just, when I was a
it's a matter
teacher,
of changes.
we always had two teachers that went to the meeting and took notes throughout the whole meeting, and then reported to the rest of the staff what occurred at the board meeting.
Some-
That practice doesn't happen here.
Some of what I got from that was, could the topics in the agenda be expanded on so they know better what we were possibly discussing? You know, this one, discuss action, school board graduation representatives, that's pretty self-explanatory. You could say, who we go to graduation representing the board. Lunch prices, setting lunch prices for.
Did they say why? I mean, that makes a good point, you know, we have very low participation in our meetings.
Well, I
So-
think it stemmed out of the compensation, because the person that brought this compensation memo from Gibraltar, and that started the conversation.
But part of this discussion is just like our staff. Our staff is saying they're asked to do more and more and more all the time, right? That's a fact. In school districts, and there's more testing, there's more reporting, and all this blah, 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 blah. So now, the same group are saying they're asking for more. The point is, it's just, now someone on the staff has to get all this stuff done ahead of time. We probably know who's gonna be, but it's gotta get done and put out ahead of time. And for what value? Because one memo from one school was interesting one time a year? Or every meeting, every month, year round, or committee. I mean, it's, right, just like we try to question the workload on our staff, well, this is a workload on a staff member, or, you know, and you're right, they're welcome to it, they clearly could come to all the meetings, they would know exactly what's going on. I mean, I don't, right, so that's only, I just want to put some reasonable discussion into the topic instead of just saying, yes, that's a great idea. You know.
Well, maybe that's a topic for, okay, we can't make any decision tonight, that's a topic for future discussion.
And they can see the agenda, if they had a question on the item, they come to the district office and look at the packet ahead of time, so we've got them available there, so it's in their own building they work in. We're not asking them too far.
The other item was, the question was, and you could expand on this more, this year we stated the increase in salary as a dollar amount versus previous years we stated as a percentage. Mr. Lippy explained that.
It's by those $2,500, and then it depends where you're on the salary schedule, if you're beginning or ending or someplace in the middle, the percentage is different. And I showed them, I had 3 numbers, and he would be there later that week, and I said, okay, here's how we did it last year. It's exactly the same this year, it's $2,500 last year. The previous year was $2,163, so you got more, and they said, we didn't realize it only got the same last year. I said, we had last year, you over here, you can play handbook, and you see it, and there it is. They said, well, it was a percentage. I said, it's a percentage off of the base, and then everyone's figured out from there, because they like to keep their ladder steady. The ladder has to stay steady, and they like to see the ladder, so they know where they're going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, at a minimum. Well, when you do that, everyone gets a percentage to keep the ladder the same distance apart. So then there was discussion that the ladder might be broken, so they want to have a meeting in the fall, to look at the ladder to see if it's the right way to go or not. So,
Yeah.
So maybe in the fall, the committee will.
You should ask them when they're re-looking at the ladder, they should bring in some performance-based criteria. Add that to the list, too, that'd be great. We're just asking for
That's
stuff.
true.
It wasn't just, let's do a evaluate the ladder, or should the ladder go away, and should it be some other way of establishing?
The ladder is becoming more and more difficult to maneuver in. And, I mean, the $2,500 almost equates to, I think it was like 4% to the median salary. And those people below that median salary got higher than 4%. Those people above the median salary got less than 4%. So it was kind of what was presented at the negotiations meeting, that whole principle of establishing that kind of a system. But the latter is difficult to negotiate.
Well, the only thing what you're saying, I believe in the intent, but the ladder hasn't changed. Ladder's been around for years, and that's just math, folks. It's not getting more complicated. Some people might not understand it, but the math on maintaining a ladder goes back when I was in the military with enlisted officers. they've been dealing with ladder structures for lots of years, and the math has not changed. So the difference is, well, we'll see what the new ideas are.
The ladder isn't, I don't think the ladder is difficult to negotiate. We didn't, about 2011, we avoided to have anything. We didn't do anything until 2016 when we created this additional pay raise. And then when Mr. Lidke came, he took whatever we had and they created this ladder and fixed it because some people were making too much
And
money.
the teachers worked on that ladder with me on that time, so that the
So
ladder was
my
developed
point,
by the
that's
staff.
just, lots of schools and businesses have kind of a ladder structure that they've
So,
been dealing with for many years.
it's,
is what I was-
So the teachers had input in building the ladder, so it's their ladder.
So that's a discussion for fall.
Oh, cool.
And that was really, there was one other question. Could there be an incentive if you're here for, some incentive if you're here after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Longevity pay or an incentive?
Well, that's what the ladder already is. As you live longer, you go up the ladder.
But they wanted that plus something else, and I said, well, if you're here so many years, you get the retirement of the insurance for 3 years after, which they're eligible for sooner than the support staff. That if you announce your retirement 1, 2, or 3 years towards the end, you get that as well. So I don't know what else there is that they would like something like that, but they didn't have any ideas of what that would be. So
that will be the fall discussion.
yeah, so if they come up with ideas, we can kick them around, but each one has a financial impact.
Anything on the budget report?
Yeah, the lottery tax credit, the $175,703.92, convertible interest in the main checking account, and we received library aid, which was $13,000 more than budget, so that's good.
Now that 16,000 interest, that was just this past month. That was not total.
Yeah.
And the reason what they're doing is everything over 250,000 goes into a pooled account, which is secured through investments, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, because they're making a lot of interest on that and passing on to the customers.
It's 250 is the FDIC limit.
The FDIC, right.
And when you said it goes in a pool, it's like with the municipalities and townships money, so, in other school districts, so, yeah.
Anything else on budget?
That's about it.
Anything on facilities?
I guess I went over the greenhouse, so that's all I got.
Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We didn't have anything to go with goals tonight, and then we do have the second reading of the revised policy for promotion, placement, and retention. Someone would like to move.
I would move to approve the second reading of policy 5410, promotion, placement, and retention.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I guess we'll just be on the watch for whatever happens with the school education budget.
Yes, they aren't dealing with the education budget yet. I just got something today, and the committees aren't dealing with that yet, but they figure that will be the last item.
It's the largest part of the budget, and usually it's the last one to
Yeah.
deal with. Which I would think in your household, we take out the biggest item first, then go from there, but that's not how it works.
Joe and Dad does their own thing.
Right.
And then we have graduation coming up. There was some discussion at some place. Rather than all of us sitting across the front of the stage, we sit down on the front row or something.
Don't from the side, it's not in front of the
Side.
students. On the stage.
Graduation is June 4th. How many are planning to attend? maybe we start with that and see what
What
we're
are
doing.
we talking?
High school graduation on June 4th.
I'll be out of town.
I will.
You'll be there, Jeff?
I would probably be available.
Sue?
I will,
Probably?
I will let you know.
Okay. So we'll have 5, maybe 6 if, I don't know, Jerry's available with you.
So, you know, I don't know how the,
Well, 4 or 5
I
or
don't know how
6.
the advisors feel about that, but it's kind of about the kids. And I think if we're all going to stand up there, then we should all shake their hand when they walk by. Because they're kind of like
yeah, I think we should.
third wheels.
What's the-
Or we could sit in the front row or down the side and shake hands when they go up.
Since Mr. Shaver hasn't seen a graduation yet, I think he's got to see it run one time in order to know the best place to push it. I'm okay with either one, as long as you guys, I think the kids need to shake your hands at some point.
Yeah, we were on the stage last year, I think it goes well.
So I think then when they come from the podium, they should shake the board member's hand, and then with Mr. Lippy, who gives them their
Right.
tassel, and then they go off, because otherwise they end with him, and then they just go back, and they never cross the rest of the board members again. Okay,
All right, we'll get it.
and then 8th grade graduation.
What time is it on the 4th, I'm sorry?
2 o'clock,
And then 8th grade graduation is,
Thursday the 1st at 6 o'clock? 6:30, what time?
6:30, I believe.
I'll be there regardless, but then I would have to see that.
I was gonna go to that if you're, June 1st at
6 p.m.
You're right.
All right, 6 p.m. All right, so Keith will be there, Katie,
Yep.
Pam and Alice. Yeah, you'll be
do
there.
you have an 8th grade?
Yeah. So,
I will not.
okay.
Okay. Then we have the 2022-24 lunch prices.
We need to increase our prices. It's $3 for a student meal. We should be at 3 1/4. If we want, we can cap it at 3.10, but then we have 15 cents we have to deal with next year. And so I just recommend moving it up to 3 1/4 right away. And then staff lunches have to go up to 407 based off of the student lunches, and 407 is kind of a weird number, so if we just move up to 410 would be better. It can't be lower than 407. So if we bump the staff ones up to 410, that'd be great.
I have to ask the question, what is it based on?
I was gonna say the same thing.
There's a
Assume that the kids eat
formula,
more than.
there's a formula on what you're currently, how many meals you serve in a year, and what your current price is, and what the cost is, and so you gotta keep it within a reasonable amount of cost, and the staff has to be 87 cents greater than the students. I don't know why that is.
If you wanted to upgrade the lunch program, I mean, offer, there was a comment one time about our lunch program can use an upgrade. What would we base it on that we wanted to upgrade, let's just say the quality of our lunches?
Well, my question, in related to this, and I don't know this, so it's just a dumb question on it. Was it the management and selection, or was it the financial side of it, right? Because how you manage your budget can affect the outcome.
Part of this having to raise it is the fact that, not this year that we're in, but the year before, because we lost money, we had to fund 50. By doing that, by not being able to bring in enough revenue, DPI says you have to raise your revenue.
But I
Wait,
think
what he was saying is,
Right,
Rich was
wants to
asking,
raise it
if you
even
want to go
higher
higher
to
to
have better
improve.
meals. I would say a quarter raise is enough for families. That's why they say you can only, if you want to, you can raise it only a dime to help your families out. But I think a quarter to keep us on track. Plus you have to remember, this isn't our poorest kids because they're getting the free lunch, then the next layer is getting reduced. So I recommend staying with a quarter, as they say, and staying at pace. And with the price, I think, do commodities at all?
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with the commodities until we got a better handle of that too. So I would just go
So
to
we
the quarters in
still,
there.
we still need USDA commodity,
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So you're saying 325 for students?
For a student, 410 for an
410.
adult, because 407 is a weird amount.
Okay.
So I think this is kind of relative to Dave's question. Is it the management of the budget or the selection? What does, everybody says Sturgeon Bay has the best lunch program in the county. What do they charge? Do you know?
I
Do
don't
they,
know
do
what
they operate
charge.
under the same?
Oh, yeah, they operate the same, they get the same sheet every year, and then if they're losing money, then they're told to move your prices up. Yeah, if they're in the black, then they don't get told to move it up, because they don't have to.
Hopefully, you know, I know we have that coming up in our agenda, I would like to pay that new position, person in that position, can we find out what Survey is doing, or what another?
I'm gonna hope that Jen Spooty be a mentor to that person.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
That's what I'm
hopefully we
hoping.
can learn, like,
Yeah,
and I'm not saying we have to do exactly. what-
beg, borrow, and steal. They got good ideas, let's take them.
So this is kind of a, have to do it? Is there a motion?
Your choice of a dime or a quarter.
Move to go with the quarter increase in the meal plan as discussed.
Second.
Can I just put them both in the same motion?
Yeah, 3 1/4 and 410.
Students and staff.
I agree.
And staff for 410?
establishing at 3 quarters.
Okay. Question to
Second.
discussion? Question to discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then we have the resolution to adopt the health retirement savings plan.
But they're a little bit, Carl, go ahead, Carl.
Okay, what this is for what we currently have within Mr. Lukey's contract of the additional amount that he receives for being here for a certain period of time, and that increases over on benchmark years. This is the account that we will be setting up to go in where he will get it upon retirement. He will be able to take that money for it's basically for the retirement health savings account. What this is doing is establishing that we are establishing the account, and that the business manager will be the caretaker of it. Since he's the one has the money, Mr. Lukey cannot be the caretaker of it. I'm the one that is going to deal with it, been dealing with it. It would be the best for either me or whoever is in my position to be the caretaker of this account. And anybody else who happens to have that in their contract. So that's what this is stating.
Is there a year requirement to utilize it? Years of service?
In his contract there is, yes. This is just establishing where we're going to put the money
All right.
for him to be able to, this is basically a trust fund.
Say when I stayed 5 years, then I give the money when I retire, and I've been here 6.
Move to approve the resolution to adopt retirement health savings program.
As presented.
As presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
With that, Jeff, I'll get with you after. I need you to sign my place as the clerk.
Last month, we talked about student fundraising, specifically students fundraising at school during the school day to soliciting staff, and we chose to do nothing with it. It came up at Meet and Confer, that the staff feel that it is burdensome in some ways because there's so many fundraisers. They acknowledge it and say yes to, I walked from somebody else, but there's a lot of fundraisers. I kind of watched the room. There were 3 or 4 people that talked about it, and then there was a lot of other head nodding. So they asked us to bring it back here. That it would be not fundraising and soliciting during the school day, sign up in the teacher lounge or workroom or someplace so that they could sign up there for what they wanted to purchase.
I think that makes sense.
That should be what it is. And teachers are having a year something, we should not do that. You can always say no.
Mr. Lukey pointed out some of our, when you're a freshman or sophomore, you probably don't have a driver's license, and there were teachers that spoke up and said, well, then the parents should drive them around.
Or they can go door to door, and I don't like kids going door to door. It's safety in today's world, but whatever. Of course, I have no problem. I buy for the first kid who hits me up. I bought a Pringle for band, and I didn't buy it for my own kid because he didn't hit me first. And I have no problem telling other kids no, and I think it's good for the kids to hear no. But some of our staff are soft, kind-hearted people, and they buy one Kringle from every kid, and they end up with 37 Kringles in the freezer.
Their other point is there are multiple fundraisers every month.
Yeah.
So
So it's a revolving door, yeah.
You want to change current
I
policy?
mean, I have no problem with like soliciting things for school and stuff.
Well, I mean, in our past discussions on fundraisers, we allow them to solicit our community over and over and over and over and over. And then the discussions in the past, just like Kyle said, is we expect our community is capable of saying no in a polite way to the kids. Because I kind of like the door-to-door, maybe that builds more community, so that people actually come out. I mean,
Go on groups
against
of
give up on
three.
community, I'm not there
Don't
yet.
go by yourself.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I think, just to have the discussion, right? So we're here saying it's okay to go into our, because I'm sure if you ask a lot of community members, they would say the exact same thing. But yet, in today's world, you need money to pay for things. And a lot of these programs help their kids. Like the DI thing is a great experience for the kids. Sports and their fundraising is great leadership. Not to mention the fundraising provide incentives, because there are those kids that go out and work hard. We dropped a kid off in town with a bike, and he went all over, and he was sold enough to qualify for an extra gadget or something.
which shouldn't be in fundraising, it should be for the group. They should not be working to get a pair of sweatpants or a sweatshirt individually. That I have a problem, that's a different discussion. I'm bringing it,
Top is fundraising, so you can talk about anything about fundraising you want. Yeah.
well, I'm
And
going to
I
bring
want
that
to
to you.
we don't want to bring fundraising every month, so.
I'm going to bring that to you when the football team brings its fundraiser this fall, because I think they're the ones that look for to get
Right, but
most
that's their
of
gold card.
So if a kid's out busting it, like Dave said, hitting the street, like just tearing it up, sells 150, whatever, and you got another kid that leaves the packet in his car and doesn't sell anything, he shouldn't be rewarded? I mean,
That's the discussion.
I
You're fundraising for your team.
I get it, but
But
I work for a company, but if my sales are higher than the next guy, we're all working for the same team, but you know what? I don't know.
well, that goes to the incentive, which is the whole thing. All of life is an
Okay, it's
incentive, right?
entrepreneurial, good.
The football team just went to Cedar Farms for 2 days, right? And the guy's gonna make a donation to the football team. Now, I went the first day and it was awful because the netting was in the water, mud, and chicken manure. And you had to raise it above your head and it fell on top of you. He gave each kid who showed up that day $20, and then he made a donation to the whole team. Now, he just took it out of his pocket and gave each kid $20. I held my hands out, I didn't get my $20. But, the next time they went, they had to plant seed, and I guess it was really hard to roll the roller, and not as many kids showed up. He made a donation to the team as a whole, and he gave each kid $50. I should have went that time. Ron Frank went, he got 2 chickens out of it, which is the old barter system, whatever it was, so.
Live chickens?
Live chickens, yeah, he's good for laying eggs. So, yeah, he got 2 eggs the first day, so there's different ways to do it. I love it when they do project ones. I don't like when they go door to door, but that's the way of the world we are. So, okay, you got to decide if you want to not bother teachers or not bother teachers during the school day, or what the system is, and do you allow incentives or don't you if someone busts it or not? I don't know.
So it's back because the teachers asked that we bring it back and consider one sign-up sheet somewhere in the school and no solicitation during the school day.
Well, I guess can't the teachers just post on their doors that they're not gonna? if they want to, if someone wants to solicit me, they can leave it in the door and I fill it out or something. I mean,
What
does it have to
happens
be?
is the teachers in the hallway during passing period, they say, hey, I'm selling Kringles, you want to buy one? And I think even if you put this in, there's still some high schoolers not gonna say, oh, I can't do that because it's a policy. They're gonna still say, you want to buy a Kringle? You know, they're gonna still ask their favorite ones, but
Well, I mean, none of the kids are gonna.
Well, and I guess they're just gonna have to say no, like you said.
it's hard. It's hard to say
It is
no.
hard, but
Yeah, but
Builds character.
it does. If you're always saying yes, then that, that's not,
So,
yes.
all right, I'm hearing no action. Hearing no action. I'm hearing no action.
No.
This one will be a more difficult session. The position of math interventionist was brought up. Mr. Lukey, administrative team, felt that with the math interventionist leaving, which was a 2-year position and we only had 1 year left, that those ESSER funds could be used elsewhere. Staff brought forward that they feel that we need a math interventionist.
And they felt we would need math interventions because we're behind on our math skills. Yet I feel we got fantastic test scores. We're always doing wonderful. It's only for 1 year, actually 9 months of school year. And right now, our pool of candidates is really low. I'll share with you in closed session how many candidates we have for our 3 teaching positions. But well, I'll tell you right now, for our 3 teaching positions, we have 5 candidates. So where we find a good math interventionist for 9 months, get them trained, get them in, and the amount of work it's worth, and our costs are going up all the time. We just brought you a $75,000 bill for the greenhouse tonight. I don't think it's a good spend of our money.
Are we able to use the ESSER, will we use those ESSER funds somewhere else?
Carl,
Plan on it.
you got plenty.
I gotta figure out where.
Well,
Yeah.
I like the plan on it, that is a good answer.
Well, we've already burned through ESSER 1 and ESSER 2. We're into ESSER 3, and ESSER 3 is the final phase of it.
Right.
This would be related to digging into data, right? So if our ACTs are showing, you know, that we're above average on everything and our math is strong, that would all, the data would all maybe indicate to what you're saying is right now, STEM and math is very important. I think but with the scenario that you explained for 9 more months, just my opinion.
So if your math scores are high, wouldn't that mean your interventionist is doing good? You would need them?
We've only had interventions for 9 months, so, and they haven't worked with anyone higher than 8th grade.
do the teachers have some
That's a good
data
correlation.
to support?
They brought no data.
Okay, I guess I would be interested in seeing data.
Our first grade team complained that the kindergarten teachers don't have them counting high enough when they get to first grade. I don't know.
Well, then that begs the question of what do we, it was, they didn't know their letters, so that begs the question, so then what are we missing
But
before
we're
we
talking
find
math
out?
here, yeah.
So who generates the list of students that need intervention? How's that generated?
Well, the teachers work on it and say these guys need help, and they already have the ones receiving special ed services, they have the ones receiving the gifted and talented services, now they want some for some of the lower middle.
Because again, teachers are doing that for you.
So,
And if we hired someone, they'll be gone next May anyway, so I don't think it's worth it.
Can I add, the teachers look at MAP scores below the 50th percentile. If they're below the 50th percentile, then they're recommended for math intervention. So that is the determining factor. Ms. Doslin did a great job working with kids that were under the 50th percentile, and it shows within small groups that their scores did improve on math. So it was effective.
so then the other question is, how many kids is,
I would say about there was probably between consistently 15 and 20 kids that were seen, but that is what I think right now. I don't have her roster, that was in front of me. One of the things that we did do with the ESSER funding is buy Bridges intervention system. And that came highly recommended from Ms. Dosland, and where Mr. Hiltz and I, along with Mr. Schaefer too, are putting together a training for teachers to really understand Bridges, because Bridges is what she used. To be able to introduce and show the teachers how to use that system, because that is what she used to get most of the kids, get higher MAP scores than when she worked with them. So
And that training,
fortunate that Ms.
we're
Dosland was
hearing
able to
Ms.
do that.
Dosland the week of August 7th, However, the teachers chose to have it on June 5th instead, so there's a training day for them planned.
This is based on state testing,
MAP testing, which is our, you know, our.
or your map, in-house map testing?
in-house map
Which
testing.
happens 3
So
times
we
a
hope that
year.
that's influential on our state testing when they take forward, when they take, the forward exam.
And our, like our fourth grade math scores, eighth grade math scores, those are the major tests, those are above, is the state average or above?
Yeah, we're way above the state average.
The other advantage of doing the bridges training rather than bringing in another interventionist for that year is that once the staff is trained on that, that should carry on beyond that year.
Yeah, I think that's
So-
wonderful.
It's a tremendous opportunity. I know that teachers are feeling, the loss of not having a math interventionist. There's another person who can pull small groups and do intentional teaching. Really hoping that we're all able to take advantage of that intervention program because Ms. Gosling vetted that program and looked at a lot of different programs for Sevastopol, and that was the one that she landed on. So-
And the loss of the staff, it doesn't happen this year, it happened next year because the ESSER funds goes away. Another area where the ESSER funds is going to reduce our staff is the school nurse. She's currently 40 hours a week. We added that when COVID came. We're paying for it with ESSER funds. When the ESSER funds are out, then we're back to 20 hours. And then you're going to hear people say, boy, we don't have the same services with the nurses we do. That's correct, because the money's not there, the revenue's not there. So they're going to feel the effect of this a couple of times when it comes to ESSER funds, what's being provided and what won't be provided in the future. Because ESSER funds run out next year.
We had that discussion in the beginning, so if you
Right.
recall the discussion, we knew that was coming. So that's a valid point.
So the question here is, go with the recommendation of the administrative team, go with the interventionist, or
Or we
continue
post
with
it out, and we're
post
going to
or
find.
post the interventionist position. Are the two
I
options.
would support the administrative team's recommendation, and I like the training idea, it's great. And just keep following up on that, because maybe we can do it more than once.
Is that?
That I absolutely agree with. I
Do
think
the
that we
June,
have.
do multiple trainings, because, you got to see it 3 times to learn it, that's normal training, we all do that when any teacher, right? So a teacher should understand that I'm not going to sit there in 1 week and be done with it, or 1 day, or whatever it is.
I agree with that because I really do think that we have to listen to the teachers and they are saying that this is a need, right? We have to provide ways for them to understand that intervention system, find time for them to talk with one another, find time with them to understand how to potentially regroup students and do different types of learning to fully take advantage of how to teach math differently.
Well, and this should be
But
married into
they're doing a great job right now, I don't want to
PDP,
say that.
right, all our staff kind of have some type of professional development plan. So I think we should, for the math team members, this should be rolled into that. So maybe it's not only just this one-time thing, it's an ongoing thing that if we feel this teaching style works, let's really,
So is that a motion, Dave, that you support the
we need a motion.
administration's
Yeah,
position on the math interventionist?
I move to support the administration's position on the math interventionist.
I'll second.
Any other discussion on the math
That means
interventionist?
you'll be eliminating it after this.
Yeah, Ms. Salson's done, but we'll have her for training, and even the 4 days in service we have in August, maybe we can bring her back. She's going to be employed by Giraldi School District, but maybe we can get her for a half a day during that time. We'll see if we can work out the neighbor.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And then we have the 2 FMLA requests for time off. And a motion on those.
Together or separate?
Separate.
Separate.
Move to approve the FMLA for Danielle Hansen.
Second.
Questions or discussion?
Notice this one's for 12 weeks, which is what FMLA allows.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Mindy Vanderhook.
Move to approve the FMLA for Mindy Vanderhoof.
Second.
Do you want to come in a minute?
Yeah, this one is for 17 weeks. It's beyond the 12, and she writes in there that she's concerned about how it's gonna, the delivery's gonna go in her pregnancy, so it's fine. Just, I want you to know it's 17 weeks, not 12 weeks. It's unpaid, it won't cost us anymore. It won't cost, well, it'll sub for longer, but it's just, so you know, it's 17 weeks, not 12.
So my understanding was FMLA, we did not have a choice.
The FMLA is for 12 weeks and it guarantees your position when you come back. Since she's asking for 17 weeks, it's beyond the FMLA. So what we're saying is, yes, you'll still have a job on January 2nd when you come back. She's anticipating having difficulties here.
She had a C-section the first time, she has to have a C-section this time, and she had problems last time, and she's just trying to make sure
Being
that.
proactive.
Being proactive, not coming back too early.
I just wanted you to be aware it's 17, not 12 weeks, which is fine in this situation.
So in those 5 weeks, you would not get paid, and
Unpaid, better job still here when she comes back. Yeah.
we'd probably hire her back.
Yeah.
So you have a motion and a second.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then the resignation of Lori Baumgart.
I move to approve the resignation of Lori Baumgart, elementary LMCA.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That concludes our regular business. I'll look for a motion to move to executive session.
Move to convene to executive session.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Who said aye, I guess? All right, motion carried at 8:01 PM. Thank you. Okay, we're back in session at 9:01 PM, and we will look first for a motion
High school basketball.
on compensation.
People service director.
I would move to approve the same HRA for the pupil services director as the elementary principal.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we'll move to boys basketball. I guess we'll take those as one motion.
Move to approve all the boys basketball coaches. I don't know all the names.
Jeff, you could list them.
Kyle Lutke, Ron Frank, Andy Simons, Brian Keene are basketball coaches. And he's already a basketball coach.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I just
didn't talk.
Yeah, Megan Lundahl for assistant unpaid track coach, so it's come to help with throwers once in a while. Sorry about that.
Move to approve. Move to approve Megan Lundell as the unpaid track coach.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Let Jeff catch up.
Who's that? Motion by Cack.
Yes, I think so.
Second by
Yeah.
High school English teacher.
I would move to approve the employment of Carol Schumacher as high school English teacher, reading interventionist.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We do take no action on the high school special education at-risk teacher. Then the K-12, K-12, K-12 general music and chorus teacher.
Make a motion to approve the hiring of Elizabeth Miller as the general music choral teacher.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And the food services director,
I would move to approve Tiffany Kelsey as the food services director.
Second.
questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Our next meeting date would be
June 21st.
June 21st. And then whoever is attending high school graduation on June 4th, and 8th grade graduation on June 1st.
Okay, do we need a building and grounds committee meeting at all? That way to get bids in from the sound system, acoustics, and then get us together.
I would say,
Okay.
we can get
Let me wait till I get some numbers.
some numbers.
Yeah, okay.
Then we'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried at 9:06 PM.